Morning, everyone. It's Thursday, November 6th. We are back at it again. I was looking for something to really encourage myself, but then I'm always thinking about, if I can benefit from it, how can everyone else benefit from it also? There are some things that when we interact with the Creator, those messages are just for us. But when you're dealing with truth, there's no harm in sharing that, because even if it means one thing to you, it may present a different message to somebody that you share it with. So with some healthy hesitation, I'd like to share this passage with you. This is, this is 2 Chronicles chapter 25, verse 5 through 10. I try to keep it as brief as I can, but it's important to read things with context. So whenever you have one verse that sounds real good, that's always nice. There's, God can use that too, but when you have the surrounding context of that verse, you can get a clearer picture of the setting of the message. So this is regarding a king of Judah by the name of Amaziah. He was the son of King Joash, and Joash is kind of famous because he was crowned at 7 years of age. There was a lot of unhealthy things happening prior to that, and you can read the previous chapter to kind of get context on that. Today we want to focus on Amaziah's kind of claim to fame. This is chapter 25, verse 5. Moreover, Amaziah gathered Judah together and made them captains over thousands and captains over hundreds, according to the houses of their fathers, throughout all Judah and Benjamin, and he numbered them from 20 years old and above, and found them 300,000 choice men able to go forth to war, that could handle spear and shield. He hired also 100,000 mighty men of valor out of Israel for 100 talents of silver. But there came a man of God to him, saying, O king, let not the army of Israel go with thee, for the Lord is not with Israel, to wit, with all the children of Ephraim. But if thou wilt go, do it, be strong for the battle. Thou shalt make thee fall before the enemy. For God hath power to help and to cast down. And Amaziah said to the man of God, But what shall we do for the 100 talents which I have given to the army of Israel? And the man of God answered, The Lord is able to give thee much more than this. Then Amaziah separated them, to wit, the army that was come to him out of Ephraim, to go home again. Wherefore their anger was greatly kindled against Judah, and they returned home in great anger. If you guys remember from Genesis, Ephraim and Manasseh were the two sons of Joseph after he was made governor in Egypt. He was given an Egyptian wife and named his two sons. And he took his two sons to Jacob after he and his father were reunited, and Jacob crossed the hands when it was time to bless the children. Remember, Jacob stole Esau's birthright for a pot of stew. So there are so many parallels in the lives of fathers and sons. it's important that the parallels that we choose to abide by are the ones that matter. So, the Bible talks about kings going out to battle often. It was just part of the job description. As a matter of fact, when David's greatest mistake happened, or greatest recorded mistake with Bathsheba, the setting of that was the time when kings were supposed to go out to battle. So there is a cautionary encouragement to always be on, at the very least, a defense mode for your kingdom. So battle may not always be conquering another kingdom, but it is certainly fortifying your own borders. And this isn't a coded message about the United States border, okay? The federal government here is a corporation, so it's not a kingdom by any means. I defend Texas Movement's borders just the way the United States defends its own borders. So that's the way I choose to look at that. But in this case, we are talking about a kingdom. And this king gathered Judah together. That was his kingdom. And organized them. And notice the difference between his soldiers and the ones that he hired. He numbered them from 20 years old and above and found them 300,000 choice men able to go forth to war that could handle spear and shield. Basically, kids that have finished basic training. But verse 6 says, he hired also 100,000 mighty men of valor. This is how the Lord described Gideon back in the day, remember? Out of Israel for 100 talents of silver. Now, I don't know exactly how much a talent is, but I read in an older reference that it is approximately 75 pounds. Okay? So we are talking 7,500 pounds of silver, potentially. So if a ton is 2,000 pounds, that's what? Almost 3 and some change tons of silver. That's quite a bit. So no matter how rich you are, you're going to feel that in the coffers. But there came a man of God to him, saying, O king, let not the army of Israel go with thee, for the Lord is not with Israel, to wit, with all the children of Ephraim. He's speaking about that tribe specifically, apparently. We don't know why God wasn't with them. But, you see how Ephraim is complimented and rejected in the same story. Okay? So, the fact remains is, there can be mighty men of valor that we have the ability to partner with. And we may even have the resources to hire them. But the man of God advises against it, or the voice of the Lord. Okay? Remember, the Creator can speak to us through text, through images, through what's in our heart and what's in our conscience, and of course, through nature itself. So it's important to always have your antennas tuned in such a way that you can be receptive to such a message. And one of the most difficult things that I've had to deal with is deciphering whether certain thoughts come from my own emotions or from a higher source trying to encourage me to move in a different direction. But if thou wilt go, do it. Be strong for the battle. It sounds like an encouragement, doesn't it? God shall make thee fall before the enemy, for God hath power to help and to cast down. Now, can you imagine being the man sent to the king that just hired 400,000 soldiers, ready to go to war? If you hire 400,000 people and spend 7,500 pounds of silver on something, you're pretty serious about it, right? So standing up in the face of that opposition is not something you should be doing in your own human capacity. It's not going to go well for you. And it may not even go well for you if you do it the right way. But that is the task sometimes. And Amaziah said to the man of God, "But what shall we do for the 100 talents which I have given to the army of Israel?" Amaziah was not broke, okay? But he recognizes that a cost is a cost. And he didn't receive the services for that cost. And that can be very, very frustrating. And the man of God answered, "The Lord is able to give thee much more than this." Money is not our source. It is just a resource. Okay? Even though Amaziah was smart enough to have actual commodities rather than printed money like we have today, still he was advised not to put his faith in that. Okay? Judas betrayed Jesus for 30 pieces of silver. And when he tried to return it to the people that paid him, they said, "It has nothing to do with us." And he threw it at their feet. And they said, "It's not lawful for us to use blood money in the wallet of the temple." Then Amaziah separated them, to wit, the army that was come to him out of Ephraim, to go home again. Wherefore their anger was greatly kindled against Judah, and they returned home in great anger. So sometimes even when people get what they want, if you don't fully adhere to the agreement, they can get very angry. But Jesus said, if your right eye causes you to sin, pluck it out. Or if your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off. It is better to enter heaven blind than into hell with all of your fully functioning members. Right? The judgment seat of Christ says some people will escape as if by fire, by the skin of their teeth. That's for eternity. It's probably starting to feel like some hocus pocus at this point, right? As an engineer in training, I always come to this fork in the road, the difference between logic and spirituality. And sometimes I think engineering school trains you out of the spiritual intuition that we all have as children. Those are my personal opinions. That's not anything spiritual, okay? Engineering is very important, and especially for the African American and Spanish speaking community, it's a great way out. Okay? Remember, we said whenever there's a king on the throne, there is always a man of God that is called to speak to that king. God never lets you fly blind completely. Amaziah had the right idea by wanting to go forth to war with his most prepared troops, and he had the resources to hire out more troops. He was not aware of Ephraim's relationship with the Lord. That is the prophet's job. That's the man of God's job, to fill in those blanks for the king. So, respectfully, to the streamers, my job is to fill in the blanks for you. To the content creators, you're just trying to make ends meet. You're trying to share your gift with the world, and that's a very, very valid thing. And I'm proud of you for that. And I love the enthusiasm that you show constantly uploading new content and streaming hours at a time sometimes, sharing your gift with the world. It's a great thing that you're doing, especially in a time like this when it's very, very difficult to find hope in different places. You bring hope to many, many people, especially children, and we're very grateful for you. And I'm not saying that having a Jewish partner is the worst thing in the world, okay? But just like a relationship, just like marriage of any kind, and Alex Hormozy can tell you about this as well. He's a very popular business influencer. Who you partner with can either push you forward or set you back. So you have to pick your partners very carefully. And, if you're wise, that's something that you pray about for let's not put a time on it. Let's say with a certain level of deep sincerity. We want to make sure that we are skeptical in a positive way of any human partnerships. We never want to put our faith in humanity when it should be in the divine. That's a recipe for disaster, whether you're going to battle, whether you're getting into a relationship, whether you're signing a contract for a new job, starting a company. Whatever you lose by saying no to the wrong partner, the Lord is able to give you much more than this. It may not be right away, and unfortunately, sometimes it's not even in this lifetime. But that is the choice that we make here on this earth. What's the reward that you seek? None of this is perfect. There's plenty of examples in my life where I chose the wrong partner. And I had to give back 100 talents many times. And it does hurt when you have to do that. The wounds reopen all the time. But it is better to enter heaven wounded than to enter hell whole. So I think we'll leave it there for today. Thank you again for patiently listening. I hope you receive what the Creator intends you to receive from this conversation. Otherwise, be blessed.